Hello, hello. Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to Telemetry Drops. My name is Juraci Paixão Kroling. I'm a software engineer, and I work with distributed systems and telemetry systems since a long time ago with telemetry since 2015. And I've been doing distributed tracing since 2017 and OpenTelemetry since 2019. Since the very beginning of OpenTelemetry, I'm one of the people who were there at the very beginning, helped create OpenTelemetry, and a few things within OpenTelemetry, among them the OpenTelemetry Collector Builder. So this is a topic for today. For the next half an hour, we're going to talk about the OpenTelemetry Collector Builder. I'm going to start by talking a little bit about the history, so why I built the Collector Builder. So this is the title for today's conversation. And then I'm going to show you a little bit about how to create your own distribution of the collector. So what are the motivations and how you can do that. I'm going to show you how to do that incorporating your own components. And towards the end, we're going to talk a little bit about what I think is necessary, what I think is the future of the builder, and how to get the builder from where it is today to the next stage. All right, so this is the main. This is going to be the play for today. Before I start, I'd like to share a couple of words about Telemetry Drops. So this is quite a new project. Dose de Telemetria, the Brazilian version of this Telemetry Drops. It exists since I think 4 years now. I don't know, perhaps 4 years. That have been opening live stream sessions every Friday around this time here, and I open a session for half an hour. I just talk about OpenTelemetry or something around OpenTelemetry, observability, monitoring, telemetry in general. Sometimes about specific tools. I try to avoid getting into the tooling area. I mean, I don't want to make an advertisement for specific tools. I think there are enough topics for us to cover at the OpenTelemetry area alone, so I don't talk too much about those tools. So let's let the vendors talk about their tools, all right? In this channel here, within Telemetry Drops and within Dose de Telemetria, the Brazilian version of that, we stay focused on OpenTelemetry. We stay aligned with the ideals of OpenTelemetry, that is vendor neutral. So I don't sell you anything. I don't sell you Oligarden. Where is Oligarden? Yeah, I don't sell you Oligarden. Oligarden is Monday to Thursdays, and sometimes Saturdays, sometimes Sundays, at least for the very beginning. But in this half an hour here, it is really about mostly OpenTelemetry. Sometimes we cover a few other things when there is a necessity for that, but typically it is OpenTelemetry. And Telemetry Drops. So at the beginning of the year, Dose de Telemetria changed a little bit. So until January this year, I could not monetize Dose de Telemetria. I could not make money out of it. But at the very beginning of this year, I decided to start an offering, a course for Dose de Telemetria in Portuguese. And I was very fortunate to have a few people interested in taking this course and being the pioneers there. And they were very happy. And I realized that there might be some value in providing that in English as well. So that's the history of Telemetry Drops. So if you go to telemetrydrops.com, you can see what is our current offering. We don't have any, or we almost have no videos. I mean, we have only a couple of videos available there on the platform, and we are recording. So I have recorded already the first 2 modules, and they are being post-produced right now. All right, so those videos are being produced at the moment, and the moment that we have one ready, we're going to start having new videos ready every week. All right, so this is the history of Telemetry Drops. And that said, we are now 5 minutes into, and we haven't talked much about OpenTelemetry Collector Builder yet. So let's start again. Let's start right now. So OpenTelemetry Collector Builder. So what is the motivation for that? Why did I start? So a few years ago, and I was just looking at the history of the Collector Builder, I kind of lost track of time, and I just opened the original repository that I had for the Collector Builder, and that was, I think, pretty much nobody knows that, but it was part of an organization called Observatorium. This is something by Red Hat, and back then in 2020, September, so the date is exactly September 9th, 2020, so almost 5 years ago, I did the initial commit for OpenTelemetry Collector Builder. And the idea back then was we were starting to think about what is Jaeger v2, what is the future of Jaeger, and it was clear already by then that a good base for Jaeger would be the OpenTelemetry Collector. Right? So the collector is a framework as well. So it's not only the binary that you run to do your telemetry pipelines, but the code is also a very good framework for building telemetry pipelines. So we decided that quite a few things that we were doing within Jaeger, like this architecture of collectors and sending data to databases and so on and so forth, we could use a lot of that from the collector. We could use a lot of features that the collector had already. We could basically use as a commodity in Jaeger. So the idea was, how about we rebase Jaeger on top of the collector builder? On top of the collector. So I began experimenting, and I saw that we could very easily convert a few things from Jaeger into OpenTelemetry Collector components. One of the things could be the UI. So the UI could be embedded as an extension. So an extension for the collector is a process that we can start. So we, as a component in the collector, it has a start method, and the start method or function, it can do anything that it wants. So in the case of the Jaeger UI, the idea would be whenever this component is started, the UI for Jaeger as a component, we would bind to a specific port and serve the Jaeger UI on that specific port. Right. So, and that was the most difficult part to deal with, and that's not difficult at all, right? Given that we have a notion of receivers, processors, and exporters, it was quite clear that we could have the Jaeger receiver acting as the ingestion part of Jaeger, and the exporter as the things that are writing things to the database. So instead of having an OTLP exporter, we could have a Cassandra exporter, we could have a MySQL exporter, we could have a Elasticsearch exporter, ClickHouse exporter, and so on and so forth. So that was the idea back then for a new architecture for Jaeger. I don't really know what is the current architecture for Jaeger. I mean, Jaeger is still one of the projects that is very close to my heart, but I haven't been following the Jaeger development for a while now. So I don't know if that's where it ended up being, if that's the architecture that it has right now. I know Jaeger 2 is there, and I know that the collector is the base for Jaeger. I just don't know if that vision that we had back then was the one that ended up being implemented. So if anyone knows, leave a comment here in the chat. I'll be more than happy to bring your information here about what is the current architecture of Jaeger. Anyway, the idea was back then that we could reuse a lot of the code that we had for Jaeger, the business code for Jaeger, and wrap that into components. And within those components, we could then just add a new distribution of the collector. Now, when I looked at how to build a distribution of the collector, the main file, the main.go, was quite simple. It's very simple. It's just a things being added here and there, and I'm going to show you in a few moments how it looks like. But I saw that code and I thought, this is very much mechanical. I can just create a script that does it for me. I can just specify which components I want, and that script can just add things to the right places. Now, being a Go developer, a script means a main.go file, right? So I just wrote a very basic tool that could write a main.go file for me, and once I've been there, I could also just compile that file. So that's the origin of the Collector Builder. The Collector Builder is a tool that allows us to define what is the distribution that we want. So we provide a manifest. We call it a manifest in the Builder terminology. And within the manifest, we specify what are the components that we can use to build our distribution. Now, the idea for building a distribution than originally was this, right? So that we can have a Jaeger, we could have a Jaeger distribution of the collector without the collector components, right? So we don't want all of the components from the collector. We only wanted like the Jaeger receiver, and then a few exporters. The exporters would be specific to databases, the databases that Jaeger supported, so Cassandra, Elasticsearch, and then perhaps a couple of other ones that we had as plugins back then. But I think the final reason for for me to really focus on the collector builder for some time was when a specific user complained about the memory usage of the collector. I went there and I started profiling the collector, and I saw a blob in memory of around 200 megabytes. I don't know if that's still there, right? So I don't know if that's still true. But back then, there was this 200 megabytes of space in memory being consumed for pretty much nothing, really. When I debugged, I saw that upon bootstrapping, upon starting the Go file, the main binary, a init function was being called by a transitive dependency. So one component that is part of the distribution had an init function, or a transitive dependency thereof had a init function, and that init function was eagerly loading all of the data for all of the endpoints for a specific cloud provider. And that JSON was huge. Like, it had all of the combinations of all of the services for all of the zones of all of the whatevers of that cloud provider. And it resulted in a 200 megabytes of JSON, of a JSON blob in memory for every single collector contrib out there. So that's when I decided to do a little bit more than just a hobby project for the builder. So I decided to make the case for the builder within the OpenTelemetry community. So then it moved from this observatorium repository into an OpenTelemetry proper repository. So originally it was open-telemetry / OpenTelemetry Collector Builder. And then we merged the builder within OpenTelemetry core, right? So we merged into the main repository for the collector after a few months. And since we found out that there was this eagerly loaded JSON file costing tons of megs of memory in every single contrib distribution out there, or distribution contrib instance out there, we decided to say publicly that you should build your own collector. So if you go to the OpenTelemetry Collector documentation, you can see that it's not that contrib is not suitable for production, but really you should be doing your own distribution of the collector if you are doing production, because then you know exactly what has been running. You can just pick and choose the components that you want, so no risk of unwanted init functions being called. And by result, you have a slimmer binary. You have a smaller binary. You have a smaller attack surface, and so on. So I don't like to. Don't get me wrong, right? So the collector is secure. If it was insecure, we would have worked on making that secure. All right. So if you find anything that is not secure, let us know, or let the collector maintainers know. And I'm quite confident that it's going to be secure again. But it is, so I do believe that it is secure. So it's not that there's a component that is a rogue component there. That's not the case. It's really the case that you as a user, you as someone that is responsible for things that are running in your on your premises, you should know what is in your distribution. Right, so don't just blindly trust the contrib. You could, if you want, but I, as a user, I wouldn't. Right, so that's I guess that's my point. Cool. All right, so that's the history of the builder. So the idea for the builder originally was I as a Jaeger maintainer back then, I needed a way for me to build a downstream distribution of the collector without calling a collector, really. We were just wanting to call it a Jaeger on top of the OpenTelemetry collector, using the collector as a commodity. So that's the original idea for the builder, and nowadays it is. I'm very happy that when I see companies, vendors doing their own distributions and using OCB, or OpenTelemetry Collector Builder, to build their distributions. Right, so I'm very happy because it kind of proves the original vision that I had back then, that you can create your own components, and then you generate a binary that is useful to your users, to your audience, and then they use whatever you provide, whatever you support. Right, so that's the main vision for the collector builder that I had back then. So how do we make use of it? How do we build a distribution? Let me share my screen with you all. Let me move this screen here to the side. For those who are new to telemetry drops, and not everybody here is new, so Ezequiel is here. Hi, Ezequiel. Ezequiel also is known from the Dose de Telemetria as well, so he knows how things work here. If you don't, then you know that I typically don't prepare anything. I just open the live stream and then I just do things, and sometimes it doesn't work, which is fine. It's fun. We are here to have fun. All right, so I'm sharing my screen with you all, and so this is the part of the history that I mentioned, right? So we had this Observatorium organization and the OpenTelemetry Collector Builder, and the first commit was September 9th, 2020, so almost 5 years ago. And from there, we moved to OpenTelemetry and then OpenTelemetry Collector Builder, and that was February 2021, so more than 4 years ago. And then it got merged into the OpenTelemetry Collector core. So this is where it resides nowadays. So if you need to get more information about the collector, or if you want, you can go to OpenTelemetry Collector and then Command or CMD, and then Builder. There is a README file there, which is mostly the same that we had for 5 years now, perhaps. Of course, a few things have changed. It evolved as well, of course, and more people have contributed as well to the builder. So I'm not. Who am I to take the full credits for that? A lot of people have helped maintaining the collector builder over the years, yeah. So you can take a look at the documentation here. So how to install, how to run it, and so on and so forth. But I'm going to show you very quickly how we can do that in code. So I mentioned that we have something called a manifest, and this is the manifest. Right, so a manifest is a YAML file where we specify metadata about the distribution itself, like what is the Go module for that, what is the name of the distribution, the description, what is the version of the distribution, and where should we write the source code for that. In this case, we're saying, oh, write it to dist, and the name of this one is Dose de Telemetria, Projeto Hotel na Prática Distribution. This here, folks, is what I use for our Dose de Telemetria OpenTelemetry track. This is also going to be available for telemetry drops. So on telemetry drops, we have Hotel track that's available already. We have 20% discount for early birds. So if you want an OpenTelemetry training, high quality, go to telemetrydrops.com. Not every video is available, so that's why we are giving the 20% early bird discount. I think right now no videos are available, or 2 videos only are available, but we are recording a lot of videos every week. So we recorded already the full first 2 modules. It's been post-produced right now, and new videos are showing up every week from next week and on. And this one here, so this code here is the code that we were using as part of the training in Portuguese, right? So this is part of the module where we show how to do your own distribution, how to create your own components. In this case here, how to create your own connector. So that's why you can see here that we have a receiver, an exporter, processor, an extension, and a connector. Those are all custom built components that we made part of Dose de Telemetria, the training. So this is the example here, right? So we have a metadata about the distribution itself, and then we have a list of the components grouped by component type. So we have here a receiver, an exporter, a list of receivers, a list of exporters, a list of processors, and so on. Now, remember at the very beginning when I said that it all followed a specific template, a specific way of doing things. And because everything follows the same standards, because everything is a Go module, because everything follows the same kind of factory names and file names and things like that, we were able to automate all of that for you. So what it means is, typically, what you need is you just point to the Go module that contains your component. In this case, we are pointing a receiver like the NOP receiver, the no operation receiver, to this module here. And then we can infer pretty much everything from that. We can infer what is the package name, we can infer what is the factory name, and so on and so forth. If we need to customize, we can do that. Look at the documentation for the builder. There are tons of information on how to customize the component. So if it uses a special package name, or if the package name differs from the Go mod module name, and so on and so forth, then you can customize that. But in the typical case, you just list the Go modules, and it goes there and it picks the right versions, and it builds the distribution for you. So we have a list of receivers, we have a list of exporters, we have a list of processors, extensions, connectors, and providers, config providers. So config providers did not exist back then. It is something new for me. Of course, it's there for some time now. But and then you can specify a set of replace statements. Replaces as in Go mod replaces. Right, so in Go mod files, you can specify how can I replace a specific module with a source that is somewhere else. This is very useful to overriding transitive dependencies. In this case, what I'm doing is I'm saying I have this module, but it's actually here. It's not on GitHub. It's on my local disk. So use that instead. Right, so this is all that it's doing here. And once I run it, I can just do an OCB. So I have OCB version. Oh, no, it's not. Is it version minus v? No. Okay. So minus help. Yeah. So we have OCB version 13210. So basically, it says, folks, I did something that I should not do, and 5 or 10 minutes before this live stream, I got the newest version of OCB, and I bumped all of the versions on this file, so you can see that those files those lines are changed. Those are the latest versions from the collector, just to make sure that everything still works. So yeah, 132.0 is the latest version of this component, and 138, where is 130? Yeah, here. And 138.0 is the latest version of the env provider and file provider, and a few other files, perhaps. No, okay. Anyway, so this is the latest version that as of now, as of 22nd of August. And what we can do now is we just run OCB -config in the manifest file, and it generates something for us under dist. So under dist, we can see that it generated a few files for us. One is the main.go, and the main.go is very simple. We have here the metadata about our distribution. We have then the env providers, and we make a call to so the factories. I mentioned that every single factory follows a specific name, and the name is new factory. And because of that, we can then just automate the generation of this Go file. And then we have a components.go. So this is where the list of components go in. And then once all of those files are generated, we have the Go module with the name that we specified on the manifest. And once everything's ready, OCB compiles that for us. So we have here an Hotel na Prática binary, and I can just run it. I can just do a dist Hotel na Prática and then config hotel, and everything's running, right? So my distribution is ready, my components are there, so everything was ready. So my distribution is there. And this distribution here has, let's take a look, it has, means LH or just LH, 28 megabytes. So the final binary, uncompressed, has 28 megabytes. And that's way, way, way smaller than the contrib, right? So if we look at the contrib distribution, we can do that right now, actually. Let's go to collector releases, and in there we can go here, and the assets for 132.4, we can take the contrib for Linux, ARM, AMD 64, TarGZ, where is it? There you go. Cool. So compressed 86 megs, and uncompressed, we can go there. uncompressed at 350. Okay, so it grew. It grew since the last time that I saw. So 350 megabytes for the contrib, and the one that we generated here with only our components is only 28 megs. Right, so it pays off to get your own distribution of the collector. All right, so it really does. How do you get the builder? You can get the builder on the README file that we had there. Let's go back where we were. There you go. And then here you can click releases and you go to the page that I was showing before. And in here you can download expand assets, and then you can download the OCB binary for your platform, and then you just execute. Or you can use Docker if you want. Cool. All right. So this is, let me see. Let me take a look at the distribution itself. All right, so this is basically what we have. And now what? Now what do I do with this binary? So one of the few things that the builder does not do, at least right now, is it doesn't generate a Docker file. It doesn't generate anything that helps you run this in production or in a container environment. So it is up to you to get a Docker file for that. If you look at the collector releases, so we were there just a couple of moments ago, you can see how things are done there. So if you open a distributions in, all right, so let's take a moment and mention what is this releases repository here. So after we proved that the builder was production ready, we had a discussion within the OpenTelemetry Collector community, and we decided that we would be generating the collector binaries using the builder. So before that, we had our own main.go files in the CMD directories and so on and so forth, and we would generate the distributions within the repositories there. The problem was Core had components that were contrib components, like the Jaeger receiver was, I think, a contrib component. So there was a kind of a circular dependency between repositories. So we decided to do all of the releases from this OpenTelemetry Collector releases repository. And when we did that, we decided to use the builder to build the collector distributions, the official distribution, so core and contrib. After a while, we ended up creating new distributions like the OTLP, the K8s or Kubernetes, the eBPF profiler, and that's it, actually, distributions. But within each one of those, you can find a set of resources like the Docker file, a Windows Docker file, a service for systemd, some scripts to use when doing dabs and RPMs, and so on and so forth. All right, so those are things that you are typically going to need for your production-ready deployment or build of the collector. All right, so you have here a manifest. So somewhere we have a manifest here. Here is the manifest for the core distribution. So it's very simple manifest here. And then we have a hotel call contrib. And then if we open the manifest.yaml file, we see a lot of it here. All right, so those are all of the components for contrib. So my hint for you is, if you don't know which components your distribution has, you can actually run hotel call and then components. But if you don't want to do that, you can come here and see what is the manifest for that distribution. Or if you want to take some ideas for your distribution, you can also take a look here and see how the collector actually does things, right? So you can copy, you can mimic what the collector does. We have a question here from Andre. Andre is asking, is it possible to configure the Pendabot to update versions of modules automatically? Yes, it is. Perhaps not the Pendabot, but Renovate, right? So if you go to JP crawling and then hotel call distributions, I think it is distributions. Yes, there you go. It's old. It's been 8 months since I last updated. But there is a GitHub workflow here. Is it? No, it's not here. It's on renovate.json. On Renovate, you can specify a package rule saying whenever there is a new version for the collector or contrib or releases, then do that. And what we are doing is we follow a rule for OCB. So there is a rule or a schema. I don't know what is the name there for Renovate, but it knows OCB. It knows the manifest file, and it can update the manifest file for us. What we are also doing is we are changing the builder version in our make files. So make file here. and it's bumping those versions as well. So we probably have a pull request here where we can see here. There you go. So we have a pull request opened on July 17th under my name, but it's not me, I promise you. That's Renovate. And no, actually, this one is me. Oh my God. But let me open a previous one. Bump. There you go. I think, is this the one? It might be the one. Where it updates the versions for us. So it updates the manifest and it updates, so this is not a very good one, but it does update like the make file as well. There is another PR here where it bumps the actual, the versions that are within this is auto close, perhaps this one, let's see. Yeah, so it is also not a good one. But anyway, it is possible. It just requires a little bit of tweaking of this renovate.json file. It might be possible to do with the Pendabot as well, right? So I'm not quite sure. I don't know the Pendabot that well, but it is possible to bump up the versions of your dependencies for your manifests, right? So this is definitely possible. All right, so this is basically it for the collector builder. So this is that was my motivation. Let me close here a little bit so I can look at you again and stop screen sharing, and then I look at you here again. Cool. All right. So this is the builder. So you now know what was my motivation for the builder at the very beginning. Why I decided it was really a good idea to build my own distributions of the collector. I decided to create this repository that I've shown you, the distributions repository, after I saw that blob of JSON memory that I mentioned before. The first version of the distributions repository was created when I was at Red Hat, so that was, I don't know, 4 years ago perhaps. And then at Grafana, I had a similar one, and then this one here under my own namespace. Now, the idea is really to show you that it's easy to generate your own distribution. Now, I get it that easy is relative, right? So some people find it easy. Some people think that it might be easy today, but to maintain it, it's hard. And other people may even say, well, just the binary is the easy part. Like, get me the Docker file. And this is where we get into the future. So where do we see the future of the builder, or where should you take the builder to the next level if you want? So I see a few things that we might need for the future. One is we need a better way to do those updates, right? So to generate new versions of the builder whenever there is a new change in dependencies, or whenever there is a new CVE, or whenever there is a real need for a new version of the binary that you need to run in production. The second one is, what if we had in the operator, and I think this is not my idea, right? So this idea is from, I think, from Bene. So Benedict, he's I think he's at Red Hat, and he shared that idea a few months or perhaps a years already with me. The idea would be, give me a config file for the collector, and the operator builds the image for you, right? So that's wonderful. I can just configure the operator and tell the operator, I have this config file, run it for me. And the operator would take like that file, because everything follows a specific standard or a pattern. It knows what are the components that it needs to pull from the contrib repository or from the core. So it can build behind the scenes before starting a new container. It could, in theory, build a new image, and then when creating the resources, it sets the right image to that specific collector that it's going to operate, right? So that's like the autopilot vision of the collector builder. So we even abstract away the builder from the user. So you just specify file, and whatever is running your collector can build the collector image on demand for you. Right, so this is one of the things that we could be doing in the future. We are not there yet. I think if you have time to work on that, I'm definitely gonna be very happy when you share that you've done that. But really, what we also need is better tooling for people. One thing that we talked in the past in the collector community. So if you go to the meeting minutes for the collector, you've probably seen me and others talking about how to take the builder to the next level. One of the ideas that we had back then was, what if What if we had something like start.spring.io? I think that's the page, like the starter page for Spring Boot, where you can pick the components that you want, and then you click generate, and it gives you either the manifest or perhaps the binary or just the Docker coordinates, like the container coordinates for that distribution that you just picked the components for. All right, so that requires a UI. I'm not a front-end developer, so that's why I never done it before. Now with vibe coding tooling, that might be easier, right? So if you are into vibe coding tools, that's something that you can probably do on a weekend nowadays. So the idea is on that page, you got a manifest. So we have the registry already on OpenTelemetry.io. So on OpenTelemetry.io, you can click registry and see all of the collector components that are available there that are known by the community. So you could perhaps source your information from that. And then on that page, you select which components you want. You click generate, and you get your distribution, either the manifest or the actual binary, or perhaps even already the Docker coordinate, the container coordinates there. So those are the things that I imagine could be done for the future. A few things that we discussed as well in the community was how can we harden the security of those, right? So how can we make sure that those components, they are, we have the manifests for them, we have those bombs, we have everything that proves that those components are, or that those binaries, that those containers are secure and whatnot. So those are things that have crossed the minds of people in the community, so not necessarily mine, but those are things that we know are missing for the collector builder. That said, the builder is still very useful. I encourage you to use the builder to build your versions of the collector for your production purposes. It's not that hard. You've seen it. It's just one YAML file. It's just one binary. The binary generates another binary based on the YAML file. So it's really easy. Perhaps the hardest part would be the automation, like the pipeline to automate all of that for your use case. But really, it doesn't involve much, right? So you can get started very quickly. I think that's pretty much it. So Andre had another question here. So this is a hot topic. If it's not off, it's not off topic, Andre. I can definitely talk a word or two about that. So I like Alloy. I think the community as a whole can only benefit from more agents. I think as a user, I don't appreciate having multiple distributions of the collector running on my Kubernetes cluster. And that's clear. But what I do like is that I have options, right? So I think if we had only the collector, then it would be very boring. I think Alloy brings a lot of innovation to the table. Like it brings the idea of native pipelines for profiles, for logs, for metrics. The idea that if you have a Prometheus data source, or you receive Prometheus data, and if you send Prometheus data, you don't incur in translation. I think that's a very positive aspect of Alloy. I wish we had that for the collector, but I don't know about the config language. I get it. I understand that it's a beautiful language for defining pipelines. But again, as a user, I don't know if I care that much. I don't know if I have the problems that it solves, right? I don't know if I'm ready to invest time learning a new language just for Alloy. Just like, and the same argument can be applied to PromQL, right? So I'm not a Prometheus user. I prefer traces. I'm more than happy to learn TraceQL, but not so much PromQL. If there is a tool that helps me abstract away PromQL, I'm all for it. Life is too short to learn PromQL, and I think the same applies to Weaver. But I think I do see the technical value of that, though, right? So I'm not saying this is bad. It's not bad. It's just that I don't have the problems that it solves, and because of that, I'm not that open to learning a new language, even though that language is very close to other languages that I might know, like HCL and so on. I guess, I don't know if that's what you asked, but that's what I have to share, Andre. And that said, I think that's all that we have for today. I invite you all on the LinkedIn page. So go to LinkedIn, go to the Telemetry Drops page on LinkedIn and click follow. If we have 150 people following the page, then we are ready to have a live stream on LinkedIn as well. Right now, we only have it here on YouTube. But if we can get more than 150 people following the page on LinkedIn, then we can have as well the live streams there, right? So that helps. Like some people prefer to stay away from YouTube. Some people prefer to watch on LinkedIn. I'm all for options, right? So if we have the option to stream on LinkedIn as well, let's do it. And if you are interested in knowing more about OpenTelemetry, if you need a training about OpenTelemetry, then check it out. Go to telemetrydrops.com. Take a look at the curriculum that we have there. We don't have all of the lessons ready. We have almost no lessons ready right now, but we do have a few modules already fully recorded, and they're being produced at the moment, and new videos are coming up every week. So I share Fridays with Dose de Telemetria and Telemetry Drops. So every couple of weeks, I have a live stream in English. Every couple of weeks, I have a live stream in Portuguese. People who speak Portuguese and English are in benefit here. But next week is then in Portuguese. In a couple of weeks' time, it's again in English for Telemetry Drops, so here in this channel. And we are going to talk about securing your pipeline. All right, so in 2 weeks' time, we're going to talk about securing your pipelines. If you are interested in knowing how to secure your telemetry pipelines from the very beginning, from the source of information, from your workloads, up to the destination, up to the point where you deliver data to your backend, then tune in 2 weeks' time, around this time here in this channel.